Mena, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be
I got to start off with, I always wanted to be a Girl Scout. And it's just like something, the more and more that we talk and learn more about the organization, I called my mom and said, Mom, why is it that I wasn't a Girl Scout? I know I went to Girl Scout camp and I learned how to ride a horse, but I never just became more involved in Girl Scouting altogether. Can you tell us a little bit more about Girl Scouts?
Well, absolutely. Well, I've been a lifelong Girl Scout my entire life. I started at the age of 4 when that was the time that you can start. And I went, yeah. And now we do 5, so you start at kindergarten. Okay. And my mother became my troop leader, and I've been there ever since, where I was a Girl Scout, and then I started working for them part-time, and then I ended up here today where I am. Yeah.
It's interesting because, growing up, I was a 90s, born in the 80s, but, we grew up through the 90s and, grew up in upstate New York, in Orange County, New York. And it always
we serve Orange County, so I'm part of Girl Scouts Heart of the Hudson, and we serve 7 counties in the lower Hudson Valley, and Orange County is one of them. Yeah. That's where one of our offices is as well.
Okay. So growing up, I had friends that were on both sides, Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, and it always seemed as if their level of accomplishments, earning badges and things like that, and maybe not speaking the correct lingo, but their level of accomplishment as they climb the ladder, they never seem to match in terms of the actual skills. I was just wondering, is there a national curriculum? Is it set regionally? Is it determined by leadership? How does that all work?
As I mentioned, I'm part of Girl Scouts Heart of the Hudson. We are what we consider a council, and nationally we're considered Girl Scouts of USA. And we have form badges. Badges is something that you earn. Right. There are a couple of steps. You have patches. So anywhere you go, you can get a patch. If we went ice skating, you got a patch in the back of your uniform. We'd have, what we call our pillars, right? We have life skills, we have outdoor skills, we have our STEM. I can't remember my last one right now at the top of my head, but we do have various pillars, and those are the ones that we tend to gear towards, right? So back in the 90s, like me and you, we had what we called for certain age levels with tryouts, right? So you earned your first aid badge, you learned, you said, right, certain domestic things, right? Like sewing, you learned how to build a fire. It all depended on what you wanted to do, right? There's so many things to do within Girl Scouting. I always say, my colleagues always joke, don't ask me to go for the woods, don't ask me to go camping, because that is not me. I'm a city girl born and raised. Take me glamping and I will go 100%. Give me a hotel room, give me a nice cabin with running water, I'm good to go. But then there were other Girl Scouts who love to go completely with nature, hiking. And so I always say, right, we're the best hidden secret, right? Where everyone assumes Boy Scouts is just everything about the outdoors, right? And Girl Scouts is something else. But we are somewhat similar and different in the same way that our goal is to have girl leadership and the girls believe in themselves. We have this thing that our mission is to build girls of courage, confidence, and character. And that is always our mission and will always be our mission.
It's fantastic because, as we talked about, the perception was something. So that's why when Kia and I were outlining this whole project as in general, we mentioned who would be joining us for these sessions. And when we talked about this conversation, I was like, I'm on camera. I want to be a part of this conversation because as
James is a girl dad.
I know. Yeah. So we said we're going to convert you into a Girl Scout.
There's no conversion needed. I'm ready to go.
You're going to volunteer.
Absolutely.
We're going to put you in your council.
I'm in. And
absolutely.
And it's interesting because, before, my Kia has a special bond with my daughter. And,
Victoria. She's adorable.
We cannot have a meeting without Victoria coming to say hi to Miss Kia.
I love that.
The benefits of virtual.
I know. Right. So my colleague, she takes care of her grandson, and his name is Grayson. And he'd be like, "Hi, Carolinas," because I'm not Caroline, I'm Carolinas. I'm with an S. I'm many people. And he would take her phone or her take be like, "Okay, I'm going to show you my things around today." And
Victoria does the same thing.
And I loved it. I'm like, it just gives you such a nice joy. And laugh. It makes it so nice to be like, oh, this is lovely. This is a great way to be able to work from home.
A quick side story. So one time, we had personal interactions, like actual, like, you know, Teams calls. And then the first time we had a company meeting, you know, obviously with a larger group, everybody was on mute and Kia was speaking. So Victoria comes around and says, Miss Kia, hi, Miss Kia, hi. And she didn't answer, she didn't respond. And she goes, oh, rude.
Oh my God. She is definitely a future leader.
I love that.
Definitely a future leader.
So she's 4 going on 25.
Of course.
Right? So, and
that was my goddaughter. She was like 1 and she was giving you eye rolls already. Like,
right, so
you would call her, she'll be like, excuse you, I'm not talking to you right now.
So, you know, obviously, you know, growing up, just, you know, my makeup and my nature, I've always been pretty aware of larger scope issues and, you know, social and political and, you know, just endeavors that needed to be addressed, right? But it was never, I didn't realize how much of a feminist I actually was until I had a daughter. Not that I didn't care, certainly not. It was always, you know, obviously monumental steps needed to be taken and have been taken, and it's all great. But they were just never a part of my daily life, my daily existence, right? Now being a father of a daughter, I'm super conscious of needing to go forward and progress. So thank you for letting me being on this, letting me join in the conversation. Thank you for joining us. I'm super excited to have this conversation.
So something that I learned about their organization and build upon what James was saying is participating in the leadership conference.
Yes.
Right. So can you share with us everything about that conference, the meaning behind it? And
absolutely. So Girl Scouts Heart of the Hudson, Kia was able to join us on our latest one.
Super fun.
It was our 7th annual one. You know, we always say for girls, by girls, right? Girls wanted it. We believe it was an important thing to have for them. So we started a teen leadership conference where we would go to different colleges and colleges would host us. And we would either have their staff or we would have our own volunteers, just like Kia volunteered her time with us, and talk about topics that girls wanted, right? We talked about climate change. We've talked about the list goes on and on, you know, how to be a businesswoman, how to work in a startup company. You know, the last 2 years we did do it virtually. The past years has been an amazing, amazing roundup of women, right? We had Miss Delaware join us last year, and she talked about self-confidence and how she built her self-confidence up. We had Kia talk about her trajectory here at Atlantic Tomorrow, everywhere else in her whole life, right? And the feedback that we got from girls was like, wow. I literally got a quote back saying, wow, she really taught me about figuring out what my self-confidence is for me, right? And I always say if you change one girl, you can change the entire world. Because you can change that mindset in thinking, I am who I am, and I believe who I am, and I will make that happen. And Kia's voice could have completely changed someone's point of view, right? And we don't know that, and that's the point of Girl Scouting, right? The point of leadership, right? I keep on saying we build girls of courage, confidence, and character. And these events, like our Teen Leadership Conference, does that for us.
What was that transition like from being in person, right, and going virtual, right? Because engagement with the Girl Scouts is something very important. Hitting those different milestones, making sure that they're developing to become lifelong Girl Scouts. What was that like within the organization, making that shift?
Yeah, so ironically, I think it was this week, 2 years ago, where we really, our CEO was like, okay, they talked to Atlantic Tomorrow, says, okay, we're going to be transitioning into remote work. We're going to be all working from home. Atlantic was with us, making sure that we had the proper everything for us. I was talking to colleagues, they're like, yeah, they were with us at like 10 o'clock at night trying to figure out why my laptop wasn't connected to the server.
The little bit of details.
I was like, yeah.
Pay no attention to the man behind the screen.
And I think some of them became like first name bases with a couple of your texts.
That's awesome.
I have to say, like, I remember one of my colleagues like, I'm gonna be calling Dave. Dave is my man. You get to him. I get to him first before you do.
Did you find that once everyone's settled and, you know, making that mad dash out of the office to working from home is a huge transition? Is my internet working? Do I have my bandwidth? Can I access my files? From a staff standpoint, once everyone got settled, did you hit a stride and just say, this is who we are, this is the new dynamics?
Yeah.
As a leadership team, how did you all do that?
So what we really, so we've always had this conversation, right? We serve 7 counties, right? And some of our Girl Scouts are farther or closer than where we do programmatic events. Because we also, right, everyone assumes Girl Scout is just our volunteers. Our volunteers are 99%, right? I'm 1% of Girl Scouts, right? Our volunteers are 99%.
Sure.
They do everything, right? They're leading the girls and we're here to assist them, but we also run what we call programs, right? We have a team called our Girl Experience team, and they bring experiences to our Girl Scouts. And we always want to promote the best for our girls. So we were beginning to shift our mindset of how else can we do stuff for our Girl Scouts, right? So we were in the midst of having conversations of how to do things virtually, right? Because that's just the way the world that we were leaning towards. We were beginning to lean towards.
We were heading that way.
We were already heading to that way. Anyways, so when, as we say, the world shut down, we pivoted and how we were going to be doing things. We changed our adult trainings to virtually. We even decided, we felt that there was a need for girls to have some form of Girl Scouting, right? Because everyone was at home. You couldn't meet with your leaders. You couldn't meet with your friends, right? Because there was so much unknown the first couple of months.
Did you see a need, a higher need in different regions of the country that maybe weren't able to engage in the virtual content that you were providing?
So I am within the 7 counties, so I can't for sure tell you something in our 50 states, but we always felt there always was a need, right? There's always a point where some child may not have the resources to have that. So we created many things where we created a program in a box where you signed up, we gave you everything in a box, and you did it on your own. Right? And
that's great, because that taught you how to be independent, keep yourself on track.
Yes.
So the whole foundation of what you're trying to accomplish was still there.
Yes. Yes. And then we have something what we call bridging. So in Girl Scouting, we have many different age levels. We go from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, right? So we're based on by grade level, right? So our daisies, our cutest ones, right? Which your Girl Scout will be, because I'm already roping you in. Your Girl Scout will be one. She will be considered a Daisy Girl Scout. And she is named after our founder, Juliette Gordon-Lowe, because that was her nickname. So that is kindergarten and 1st grade. Right? Our 2nd and 3rd graders are considered brownies. They're considered brownie helpers. So they have a brown uniform, right? Our daisies have a blue uniform. Our 3rd and 4th grade girls are considered junior Girl Scouts. They have a green uniform. Our cadets are middle school, so 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Our senior Girl Scouts are 9th and 10th, so our freshmen and sophomores, and then our ambassadors are considered junior and senior Girl Scouts. And then you can become an alumni Girl Scout or come back and volunteer for us as an adult.
So I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple of the ambassadors.
Yes.
Right? And having a daughter who's now 19,
yes.
Right? And for some reason, I always seem to remember the teen years, right? The little cute ages of like 2, 3, 4, and 5, a distant memory. And, meeting one of the young ladies that participated in that conference a couple of weeks ago virtually, Molly, I walked away with like, man, she's amazing. You talk about this future leader. Like, I just can't wait to hear like what she does 2 years from now, 5 years from now. She has such a strong foundation. I'm sure there's a lot of that was in her already. Yeah. But as she told her story of being a lifelong Girl Scout, even though she's only, a senior in high school?
She's a senior in high school. Yeah.
And she's already talking about this, I'm a lifelong Girl Scout and what I'm going to do in the future and how I'm going to give back. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And Molly obviously is just a representation of one person. Yes. There are so many other young ladies that's dynamic. What type of participation do you get from people like Molly that are ambassadors and then go on to college?
So many. I'll give you an example. Molly was a lifelong Girl Scout. Girl Scouts is not just badges. It's not just journeys. We are also...
and thank you for my first badge. I'm so proud.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we do have badges. Our badges for our uniforms go in the front and our patches go in the back. So we created one for our teen leadership conference. So that goes traditionally in the back of the Girl Scout uniforms. I tend to hang mine in a cute little wall of the ones that I get. A really cool fact, if you ever meet a Girl Scout CEO, like our national CEO, you get a badge.
Really?
For meeting her. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
really
very
nice.
cool. That's very cool.
Really
so
cool.
We have something that we call convention that happens every 3 years. So the last one that I was able to participate was 2017. And the CEO at the time, she was the most famous person in the room by these kids because these girls were chasing after her. Not just to meet her, but to get that patch.
Badge.
They wanted that patch. That patch is what they wanted. They're like, nice to meet you. Can I get my patch, right? And like I said, Girl Scouts is how you make it for yourself, right? Some girls are all about the badges. Some girls are all about the patches. I was all about the arts and crafts of different things. So to go back to your point of Molly and all these amazing things, right? We have... it's not just what the Girl Scout comes back to us, but what they influence in the world, right? We have been able to give opportunities to girls. That was the first time ever to get on a plane to go to a conference, right?
Such a time of opportunity.
Right? It's a time of opportunity. And this particular Girl Scout came back to us and she worked for our camps. During the summer, right? And she's like, anything you need, I will always be willing to volunteer my time for you, right? Just like Molly has, we've had Girl Scouts who have changed laws here in New York State, protecting our bees. We've had Girl Scouts that come back who volunteer their time and run an entire program for us because they work in media or they work in communications. They're like, I want to give back to them, and it's a great way for us to give back. It's a leadership, like I say, it's always a leadership opportunity for girls, right? And you wouldn't think I'm an extremely shy person, but I am extremely shy. I'm like the introvert of the introverts.
So then accepting this task might have been
so it's
monumental.
Funny, it's funny how I'm okay with this, but I'm actually very shy personally. I'm so shy personally, and you wouldn't think that, but Girl Scouts gave me the tools to have that confidence.
So you can see it in your face, right?
Yeah.
Because when you talk about yourself, and when you talk about the Girl Scouts that you work with on a daily basis and everything, you just have it. Like when James and I were, green lighting this whole thought of having this series, I said to him, I was like, wait, Carolina, you don't understand. You don't understand how your energy just comes across virtually, right? We're looking at a computer and we're talking a couple of phone calls. I'm like, people have got to be able to understand the impact that people are having through Girl Scouting. I think a lot of times people say, oh, it's Girl Scout cookie season.
It is Girl Scout cookie season, so we are selling cookies.
But you came empty-handed.
It wasn't my fault. I will mail them to everyone here. I promise you, I will.
Wait,
We're going to take orders, everybody.
Listen,
I will be taking
Girl
orders.
Scout
Our Girl
cookies.
Scouts need to reach their goals. Absolutely.
Listen, I'm a Thin Mints girl, so.
Same.
So it depends on the kind of cookie I like.
I want to go back to something. You mentioned, how we have the Mollies of the organization that really drive forward and that lifelong Girl Scout. I was wondering though, is there maybe like a plateau effect in terms of a grouping where you see maybe participation start to drop off and, maybe interests divert elsewhere?
Well,
I'm wondering why? Is it maybe societal factors and things like that?
I think
that go
there's
into
so
that?
many factors. I think kids now are 10 times busier than I've ever been in my entire life. I remember in high school, I just did band. That's all I did. And I was exhausted.
That's a great point.
These kids, they do 5 other million things, and they
Clubs, sports,
everything,
Scouts.
and it keeps them very active, right? And sometimes the issues that Girl Scouts have, or people who are what we considered in troops, is their schedules just don't align, or they just have other interests, right? But we're always open, we're always willing to have them back whenever they want, right? True. Where we have a troop, right? Traditionally, a troop is 12 girls. Right? It could be of the same age level. It could be different age levels. And
so it's based on your accomplishment, not necessarily your age. Like you said, in different age in a troop, it can be different age levels.
Yeah. So we have troops, right?
Okay.
So we have troops, and you can have one level troop, right? Which means you only have daisies.
Oh, okay.
You can have something what you consider a multi-level troop.
Daisies and brownies.
Yes, daisies and brownies. My troop, my mother's troop, was considered a multi-level troop. She says the younger ones are going to teach the bigger ones, and the bigger ones are going to teach the little ones, because that's how they learn how to talk with each other, and they learn how to talk to people different ages. That's how my mother did it. That's not how everyone does it, and everyone does it the way that works for them. But we do see that after certain age levels, some girls do plateau, like, oh, I'm too cool for this. But they're all cool for everything, right? I remember I was cool to even look at my mother some days, right? I was like, why are you talking to me? Like, don't even look at me today. How dare you, right?
But
But
I can't, what am I in for?
Yeah, it's coming.
it's coming. It's okay.
So one of the things we were talking about was the world is opening back up.
Yes.
Right? You made the observation that the city is like, it's vibrant.
It's vibrant.
The
It's
weather is
vibrant.
great. People are out. What does that transition look like back into in-person Girl Scouting?
So we are doing we're doing a bit of both. We're doing
The best of both
We're
worlds.
doing the best of both worlds, right? As I mentioned earlier, as I said, right, we have different age levels, right? Within the age levels, we have something in between where, let's say, you go from a daisy to a brownie, or a cadet to a senior, what we call bridging, right? And so during the height of the pandemic, we decided, right, as a department, we have to give girls something, right, for this time, right? Because traditionally you bridge, what we call bridging, you look forward and you look back. We created an entire program for that, and we did it virtually. We were able to serve over 700 Girl Scouts.
That's incredible.
In that time, in about a month and a half.
That's incredible.
That's what we were able to do.
Would that have been able to happen without the aspect of virtual?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
We would have been able to serve about 200, right? But
your reach,
but our reach was 700,
higher.
was so much under, right? Because it was the comfortability of being behind a screen, behind your home, right? So the girls earned what we called a badge, right? For each age level, and they got a certificate in the mail. And who doesn't love a fun mail thing coming in, right? Right? Who doesn't love it, right? So that's one of the things that we transitioned into virtual, right? And then we started to do things in person. We have a wonderful event called Girl Scout Love State Park that we have partnered with all the national parks. And we have done it the second week of September is where it happens. And Girl Scouts are able to explore our national parks, where they had an option to do a virtual tour or go to a partner that we had in person. And we had over 300 families show up to this event in person that weekend, right? It was self-guided tours. In 2020. And they were able to walk around the park, and we just had great feedback. They're like, this is an opportunity for us just to meet with our girls and meet with our families. Because I always say, Girl Scouts is not just about the Girl Scout, it's about the family, the impact it has on them, right? Because you are going to be a Girl Scout dad, right? And the impact it's going to have on you.
She is really pitching.
I'm pitching it. You're gonna tell me where you live, because I will contact the recruiter over there. It wouldn't be my job.
And by the way, in post-production of this, how many hashtags has she created in this conversation?
Definitely.
We're gonna need to talk about
You're
that.
gonna go viral.
Really? Oh Lord.
So we're talking about how you transitioned from the scout side of things. But what about organizationally in terms of use of technology from virtual now back into real world and mixing? From the organizational level in terms of management and the core of the Girl Scouts organization, have you seen anything that was brought on from the onset of the pandemic that you were able now to leverage and either keep as it was really a benefit, or something that you just absolutely cannot wait to get away with?
No, so I think it was a great thing for us, because we most of us are remote, but most of us are also hybrid, right? Because everyone's job is different, right? Everyone only knows Girl Scouts just for cookies, but we're so much more than just cookies. We do what we do for our Girl Scouts, we also do for our volunteers. We do trainings, right? So on our side, right, we are able to do trainings virtually, right? We use Zoom, we use GoToWebinar, we use Hop-ins. One of the things nationally, what we did is we did a summit. We did a conference that was all virtual, which is absolutely great for us, right? Because no one has to fly out. No one has to go to one location. It's great to see everyone in person, but it's also great to have hundreds and hundreds of Girl Scout staff all on one conference, right? That's a great thing for us.
Is there anything, we had to be very creative, right, in order to adapt with everything that you've learned and seen and enjoyed, right? Even if it was a challenge, what else would you want? let's think of it as like a blank piece of paper and you could just brainstorm, what would you add to the element of Girl Scouts?
That's a very hard question because I love what we have right now.
Okay.
Being able to have more opportunities like this for our Girl Scouts, right? I know they do that, but like partnerships like this, right? Is great for them, like to continue to grow.
If we have season 2 of this, Molly's coming on.
Absolutely.
She'll be in Syracuse, but she'll make sure it happens.
We'll do it over spring break.
I'm telling you, she's amazing. We may even want to drive up to Syracuse and bring the crew with us.
And she says she does plan to continue to be in Girl Scouting actively after, right? Because it has such an impact on their life. Like I always say, I'm the prime example of how Girl Scout has influenced you. I went to school for biology. I've never used my degree
I was going to say,
one day in my life. And I ended up in Girl Scouts. And I'm not mad about it at all.
Why would you be?
I'm not mad at it just because I can talk to girls that, yes, I got my degree in science, right? But you don't have to live in the construct of this is your degree, right? Like we have the imagination of one path. Right? And the reality is we're thrown so many different directions, right? Yeah. Right?
During the conference, there was a young lady that asked a question about being an entrepreneur. And sometimes people are discouraged, right? Because there's a risk associated with it. And it was such a mature question of like, this is what I want to do. I don't know exactly what it is, but I want to be an entrepreneur. And she really expressed that happened from the programming and all of the different learning and things that she wanted to do. It's amazing what these young ladies are really, really focusing on, the Girl Scouts, on looking so far in the future of building up everything. And it was so insightful that I actually went back and had a conversation with my daughter and said, all right, what's your plan? Let's think about this. Like, what are you going to do? Let's map it out. It's okay that you don't know ultimately what you want to be, but what's your thought process behind it? We had such a great conversation after that time, and just hearing what Molly was sharing, what the questions were during the time, and then spending some time with your team beforehand and just really learning more about what you all do.
Yeah. My big thing is I always want to be honest with our Girl Scouts. I want to be real with them, right? I believe we as a society have said, this is the path that you have to go to. This is this is the perfect way. There is no perfect way to make anything.
Correct.
Perfection is not real, right? I want to be perfect, but the reality is once you hit perfection, what's next?
Right.
It's a relative scale too.
It is a relative scale,
perfect,
absolutely. It's absolutely. And my goal is, particularly for the Teen Leadership Conference, I always tell anyone who's volunteering this time or participating, be honest, be real, talk about the struggles, because we always talk about the good. We never talk about how you're sitting in self-doubt.
Yeah, be open about it.
How you're like, oh my goodness, how did I get myself in this situation? How am I going to get out of it? How am I going to move forward? And how your mind processes worked. Because what I'm going through, someone else has gone through, right? Right?
It's not just me.
It's not just you, right?
It's not you.
We all have titles, quote unquote, right? But we're all humans, and we all have the same form of doubt and need of self-confidence. And girls should learn to be like, it's okay for me to ask those questions. It's okay to be like, hold on, I need a minute. And one of the questions the girls asked you, right, was how to start her own business and what to do. And they're thinking of these mindsets because they are goal-driven, but they also know that they need help.
That's right.
And to compound, like you just mentioned, like on what to do, what do I do? The question was, then you mentioned, you need to be honest because somebody has gone through what you've gone through, right? But even scale that back a little bit, somebody is maybe approaching what you're going through, so you can maybe get them around it. Help them recognize the steps that they're taking or leading towards a possible bump in the road, and to be able to smooth that out. So honesty is a huge element.
It's the biggest thing, knowing to be open. We thank you so much, and for you taking the time to really share just everything. I mean, just again, your energy
I'm so glad. No,
you know,
when
just
she gave me the
educating
call, I was
us.
like, "Oh, you want me? Is that who you really want? Okay, let's do
This
this."
is great.
And then James and I debated back and forth. I'm like, James, what are you talking about? No, you got to hear Carolina. You got to hear all these different things. No, that's not
I
the
wasn't
case.
knocking it.
We
That
got to
was-
get Victoria into Girl Scout.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna get where you live, and we're gonna call the what we call our membership person. And we're
Call
gonna-
your membership person in
and
Central New
and-
Jersey,
and when
you'll
she
have
starts,
an
and when she
enrollment.
becomes 5 in kindergarten.
Next year, you gotta hurry up. August.
Oh,
She's
she's
5
an
now?
August baby. I'm an August baby.
Perfect.
Oh, she must be very fiery. I love it.
Yeah, she's an inferno.
So thank you. And I think we're all Thin Mints.
I love Samoas.
Okay.
I'm Thin Mint.
I do Thin Mints in the summer, and I crumble them frozen into like my vanilla ice cream.
That's too much.
Is what I do, and I actually really love our gluten-free ones. Our Toffee-tastics, they taste like dulce de leche. I love it.
Really?
Yeah.
I need that recipe.
I love it.
Well, then they wouldn't have much of a market if they gave
No,
out the
well, it's
recipe.
an actual cookie. We have a gluten-free cookie, and it tastes like dulce de leche to me in cookie form.
Okay.
And I have it with a glass of tea. You know, it's great.
Tea time.
Tea time. I love
Elaborate over here with Girl Scouts.
Yeah, I know,
Hey,
right?
you never know. I always got to promote our cookies somehow,
Absolutely.
right?
Well, thank
It's
you.
also a great leadership skill.
Of course. This was
Businesses.
great.
That's probably what she was asking you about business.
Probably.
Because our Girl Scouts sell cookies, right?
They're entrepreneurs in
They're
their own
absolutely
right.
entrepreneurs right now. So with the pandemic, right, there was a need to have leaders. And so we as staff, like me and my colleague, we decided we were going to start our own staff-led troop. We were able to have over 40 Girl Scouts join us virtually. And this year, my girls have sold over 2,800 boxes of cookies because they want to do stuff with their money. And they're like, we want to earn our badges. We want to buy our patches. We want to go on a picnic. We want an ice cream. And they're like, we're going to sell cookies because we want something. And so
Maybe
this
we
is-
can work out the winning cookie seller can be a guest.
Don't
our
tell me
next-
that because I'll make
she's
sure.
gonna make sure that
I'm
happens.
gonna
But
make
we
it
can
in.
do
I'm
it.
gonna make
We can
it
do
in
it.
writings for next cookie season that they can come and talk about.
They can be a guest on.
You
a
heard this,
podcast
right?
and stuff.
Everyone heard this,
It's
right?
being recorded.
It's being recorded. You heard this.
I think that would be fun. They'd love it.
I think it's awesome.
That would be very cool. Yeah.
Well, great. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having
so
me.
much.
This
you
is a
very
great
much.
conversation.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes.
Thanks.